The world has gone quiet. Shadows stretch across the walls. Let your thoughts grow soft. A story waits in the stillness. If it brings you peace, like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a night. Now let the story find you. You stand at the edge of a forgotten village where the air hums with secrets. The sun has just dipped below the horizon, leaving a bruise of purple and gold across the sky. Your sandals crunch on the gravel path as you wander past crumbling walls, their stones worn smooth by time. You've come here on a whim, drawn by a rumor whispered in the city's tea houses, a scroll that paints itself hidden in the old Lee family estate. They say it holds stories no one dares speak aloud. Your heart beats a little faster, not from fear, but from the thrill of the unknown. The village is silent, save for the soft rustle of bamboo in the evening breeze. You pass a crooked signpost, its characters faded but legible. Lee Estate. Half a mile. Your fingers tighten around the strap of your satchel. Inside you carry a notebook, a brush, and a vial of ink, tools for a scholar like you, always chasing stories, but this one feels different. The air grows heavier as you walk, as if the world is holding its breath. Ahead the estate looms, its tiled roof sagging like the shoulders of an old man. The gates are ajar, creaking faintly as you push them open. You step into a courtyard overgrown with wild flowers, their petals glowing faintly under the rising moon. The main house stands before you, its wooden doors carved with phoenixes and dragons, though the paint has long since peeled. You hesitate. Something about this place feels alive, watching you. A flicker of movement catches your eye. To your left, a young woman steps out from the shadows of a willow tree. Her silk robe shimmers like water, and her hair falls in waves, pinned with a single jade hairpin. She's beautiful, but her eyes are too sharp, too knowing. "You're here for the scroll," she says, her voice soft as a sigh but carrying an edge that makes your skin prickle. You nod, unsure whether to trust her. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. "I may. Follow me." It's not safe to linger here alone. You follow her through the courtyard, your steps echoing on the cracked stone tiles. May moves. With a grace that seems almost unnatural, her robe barely stirring as she glides ahead. She leads you to a side door, half hidden behind a curtain of ivy. "The scroll is inside," she says, glancing back at you. "But it's not what you think. It chooses who sees it." Her words hang in the air, and you wonder if you've made a mistake coming here. But your curiosity pulls you forward, stronger than doubt. Inside, the house smells of dust and old wood. Moonlight spills through broken shutters, casting jagged patterns on the floor. May leads you down a narrow hallway, past rooms filled with shadows and the faint outlines of furniture long abandoned. You catch glimpses of faded paintings on the walls, scenes of mountains and rivers that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. Your heart thuds in your chest, but you keep walking. Drawn by the promise of the scroll, May stops at a heavy door, its surface inlaid with mother of pearl. She presses her hand against it, and the door opens with a low groan, revealing a small room. In the center, on a lacquered table, lies a scroll. It's unrolled, its surface blank except for a faint shimmer, like moonlight on water. You step closer, your breath catching. The scroll feels alive, its edges curling slightly as if aware of your presence. "Touch it," May whispers, her voice close to your ear. You hesitate, your fingers hovering above the silk. Something tells you this moment will change everything. You glance at May, searching her face for answers. Her eyes are unreadable, but there's a flicker of something: anticipation, perhaps, or warning. "What happens if I do?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. She tilts her head, her smile returning, sharper this time. "You'll see a story, but it's not just any story. It's yours." Her words send a chill down your spine, but your hand moves almost of its own accord, brushing against the scroll's surface. It's warm, like skin. The room blurs. The air grows thick, and colors swirl before your eyes: reds and golds, blues and greens, spiraling into shapes you can't quite grasp. You feel yourself falling, not through space, but through time, as if the scroll is pulling you into its heart. May's voice follows you, faint but clear. "Be careful what you wish to know. When the colors fade, you're no longer in the room. You're standing in a garden, lush and vibrant, the air heavy with the scent of jasmine. The scroll is gone, and so is May, but you're not alone. A man stands before you, dressed in robes of deep indigo. His face is striking, with high cheekbones and eyes that seem to see through you. He bows slightly, his movements precise. "Welcome," he says, his voice warm but laced with something you can't place: sorrow, perhaps, or secrets. "I am Li Wei, the last of this house. You've come for the scroll, but it's already chosen you." Your heart races. The garden feels too perfect, the flowers too bright, the air too still. You want to ask him what he means, but the words stick in your throat. Li Wei gestures toward a stone bench beneath a peach tree. "Sit," he says. "The scroll will show you what you need to see. But know this, every story it tells comes with a price." You sit, your mind spinning. The garden hums around you, alive with the chirping of crickets and the rustle of leaves. You feel the weight of the scroll's presence, even though you can't see it. Something tells you this is only the beginning, that the story it's weaving is already wrapping itself around you, tighter than you can imagine. You sit on the stone bench, its cool surface grounding you as the garden hums with life. The peach tree above sways gently, petals drifting down like soft whispers. Li Wei stands before you, his indigo robes catching the strange golden light that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere. Your heart hasn't stopped racing since the scroll pulled you here, wherever here is. The air feels thick with possibility, like a storm waiting to break. You want to ask 100 questions, but Li Wei's gaze holds you, steady and unyielding, as if he already knows what you're thinking. He kneels beside the bench, his movements slow and deliberate, like a ritual. "The scroll brought you to me," he says, his voice low, carrying the weight of years. "It paints what is true, but truth is a heavy thing to carry." You shift, uneasy, your fingers tracing the rough edge of the bench. The garden feels too vivid, the colors too sharp, as if you've stepped into a painting that hasn't finished. Drying, you glance around, half expecting to see May's shimmering figure among the flowers, but she's gone. Or maybe she was never really there. Li Wei reaches into his sleeve and pulls out a small, folded fan. He opens it with a flick, revealing delicate ink drawings of cranes flying over a misty mountain. This was hers, he says, his eyes fixed. On the fan, my sister, Lee May. Your breath catches. May, the woman who led you to the scroll. You want to tell him you saw her, that she guided you into the estate, but something in his tone stops you. There's a crack in his voice, a wound that hasn't healed. She loved stories, he continues, but the scroll loved her too much. You lean forward, your curiosity burning. What do you mean? You ask, your voice sounding small. In the vastness of the garden, Li Wei's eyes meet yours, and for a moment you see something flicker in them, grief, or perhaps a warning. The scroll doesn't just tell stories, he says. It binds you to them. Once it chooses you, it weaves your life into its ink. May found it just as you did, and now it's painting you. Your skin prickles. You think of the scroll's warm surface, the way it seemed to hum under your touch. You want to argue, to say you're just a scholar chasing a rumor, but the garden around you feels too real, too alive. The jasmine's scent is dizzying, and the cricket's song seems to pulse in time with your heartbeat. What happened to her, you ask, almost afraid of the answer. Li Wei closes the fan with a snap, his fingers tightening around it. She became part of the story, he says, simply, and so will you if you're not careful. He stands, gesturing for you to follow. You rise, your legs unsteady, and trail him through the garden. The path winds past a pond where lotus flowers float, their petals glowing faintly in the twilight. You catch your reflection in the water, but it's wrong. Your face is there, but your eyes are too bright, like May's. You blink, and the reflection is normal again. Your heart thuds. This place is playing tricks on you, or maybe the scroll. His Li Wei leads you to a pavilion, its red pillars carved with coiling dragons. Inside, a low table holds a single candle, its flame steady despite the breeze. He sits, motioning for you to do the same. You settle across from him, the wooden floor creaking under your weight. The scroll shows you what you seek, he says, but it asks something in return. It always does. He pauses, studying you. What do you seek, scholar? Knowledge? Adventure? Or something more? You hesitate. You came for the scroll, for the story it promised, but now you're not so sure. The way Li Wei looks at you, the way the garden seems to breathe with you, makes you feel like you're standing on the edge of something vast. I want to understand, you say finally, your voice steady despite the knot in your chest. I want to know what it's trying to tell me. Li Wei nods, as if he expected your answer. He reaches under the table and pulls out a small, lacquered box. It's simple, unadorned except for a single character carved into the lid. Truth. He slides it toward you. Open it, he says. Your fingers brush the smooth wood, and a shiver runs through you. The box feels heavy, heavier than it should. You lift the lid, and inside lies a single sheet of rice paper, blank but shimmering faintly, just like the scroll. You look up at Li Wei, confused. It's empty, you say. He shakes his head. Look closer. You do, leaning over the paper. At first, nothing changes, but then you see its faint lines forming, curling into shapes. A figure appears, sketched. In delicate ink, you, sitting at this very table, Li Wei across from you. The image is so precise it steals your breath. But then another figure appears behind you, a woman in a flowing robe, her jade hairpin glinting. May, your heart lurches. You spin around, expecting to see her, But the pavilion is empty except for you and Li Wei. She's still here, he says softly, his eyes on the paper. The scroll keeps her close, but not in the way you think. You want to ask what he means, but the words won't come. The candle flickers, casting shadows that dance like ghosts. Li Wei leans forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. The scroll will show you more, but you must decide if you want to see it. Once you do, there's no going back. You stare at the paper, the image of you and May still vivid, the ink still wet. Your hand trembles as you close the box, but the weight of it lingers in your palms. The garden hums around you, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and something else, something older, deeper. You feel the scroll's pull, its story weaving itself around you, and you know Li Wei is right. You're already part of it. The question is whether you'll let it take you further. You clutch the lacquered box, its weight anchoring you as the pavilion's shadows flicker. The candle's flame holds steady, but the air feels charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm. Li Wei watches you, his eyes dark and unreadable, as if he's waiting for you to make a choice you don't fully understand. The rice paper inside the box, with its haunting image of you and May, sits heavy in your mind. And you want to open it again to see if the ink has shifted, but your fingers hesitate. The garden beyond the pavilion hums, its jasmine scent curling around you, pulling you deeper into this strange, vivid world. Li Wei stands, his indigo robes rustling softly. Come, he says, his voice gentle but firm. The scroll has more to show you. You rise, your legs unsteady, and follow him out of the pavilion. The path he takes wings deeper into the garden, where the trees grow denser, their branches weaving a canopy that blocks the moonlight. Fireflies drift lazily, their golden glow lighting the way. You glance back, but the pavilion has vanished, swallowed by the foliage. It's as if the garden is reshaping itself around you. The path opens to a small clearing where a stone archway stands, covered in moss and carved with swirling clouds. Beyond it you see a flicker of movement colors, dancing like ink spreading across water. Your heart quickens. It's the scroll, or something like it, suspended in the air beneath the arch. Its surface shimmers, blank but alive, waiting. You step closer, drawn to it despite the unease curling in your chest. Li Wei stops at the edge of the clearing, his face half lit by the fireflies. Look, he says, nodding toward the scroll. But be sure you want to see. You approach the archway, the scroll's surface rippling as if it senses you. Your reflection appears in its sheen, but it's not just you. May stands beside you, her jade hairpin glinting, her eyes fixed on yours. You spin around, but the clearing is empty except for Li Wei. Your breath catches. She's not here, you say more to yourself than to him. He shakes his head, his expression unreadable. She's in the scroll, and so are you now. You turn back to the scroll, your hand trembling as you reach out. The moment your fingers brush its surface, the world shifts again. Colors swirl, pulling you forward, and the clearing dissolves. You're standing in a bustling marketplace, the air thick with the scent of roasted chestnuts and jasmine tea. Stalls line the street, their red lanterns swaying in the breeze. People move around you, their voices a soft hum, but their faces are blurred, like sketches left unfinished. You feel out of place, your modern clothes stark against their flowing robes. A woman brushes past you, her silk sleeve grazing your arm. It's May, but she doesn't see you. She moves through the crowd with purpose, her hairpin catching the lantern light. You follow, your heart pounding, as if the scroll is guiding your steps. She slips into an alley where the noise of the market fades. You hesitate, but something pulls you after her, a thread you can't see but can feel, tying you to her story. The alley opens to a small courtyard where a man waits, his back to you. His robes are rich, embroidered with silver thread, but his shoulders are tense as if carrying a secret. May approaches him, her voice low and urgent. "Chun, you promised," she says, her words sharp with emotion. "The scroll can't stay here. It's changing everything." The man, Chun, turns, and you catch a glimpse of his face, handsome but strained, his eyes shadowed with guilt. "I tried," he says, his voice breaking, "but it won't let me go." You step closer, drawn into their conversation, but they don't see you. It's as if you're a ghost, watching a moment that belongs to another time. May's hands clench, her jade hairpin trembling in her hair. "You love it more than you loved me?" she says, her voice cracking. Chun reaches for her, but she steps back, tears glinting in her eyes. "It's not love," he says, "it's a curse." Your chest tightens. The scroll's pull is stronger now, its story wrapping around you like a net. The scene shifts, the courtyard blurring into mist. You're back in the garden, the stone archway looming before you. The scroll is gone, but its presence lingers, heavy in the air. Li Wei stands where you left him, his fan clutched tightly in his hand. "You saw her," he says, not a question. You nod, your throat tight. "Who was Chun?" You ask, the name heavy on your tongue. Li Wei's jaw tightens, and for a moment you think he won't answer. "Her betrothed," he says finally. "The man who brought the scroll to our family, and the one who broke her heart." You want to ask more, but the garden feels different now, the air colder, the fireflies dimmer. Li Wei steps closer, his eyes searching yours. "The scroll showed you their story, but it's not finished. It never is." He pauses, his voice softening. "You can walk away now, leave the scroll behind, but it's already painting you. If you stay, you'll see more than you bargained for." Your mind races. May's tears, Chun's guilt, the scroll's shimmering surface, they're all tangled together, and you're caught in the middle. You think of the rice paper in the lacquered box, the image of you and May, the way the ink seemed to move. You want to understand, to unravel the story, but Li Wei's warning echoes in your mind. The garden hums around you, its beauty masking something deeper, something that makes your skin prickle. You feel the scroll's pull, stronger now, urging you to keep going. You take a step toward the archway, your heart pounding. The air shimmers, and for a moment you think you see May's silhouette, her hairpin glinting in the darkness. Li Wei watches you, his expression unreadable. "What will you choose?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. You don't answer, but your feet move forward, drawn to the archway, to the scroll's promise of truth. The garden holds its breath, waiting for your next step. You step through the stone archway, the air shimmering around you like heat rising from summer earth. The garden fades, its jasmine scent replaced by the sharp tang of ink and old paper. You're in a room now, small and dimly lit, with walls lined by shelves sagging under the weight of books and scrolls. A single lantern hangs from the ceiling, its light swaying gently, casting shadows that twist like dancers. Your heart beats fast, the scrolls pull stronger than ever, urging you deeper into its story. You feel it watching you, though you can't see it. The floor creaks as you move forward, your eyes drawn to a low table in the center of the room. On it lies the scroll, unrolled, its surface blank, but pulsing with that strange, living shimmer. You approach, your fingers itching to touch it again, but a sound stops you, a soft sob, barely audible, coming from the corner. You turn and there she is, May, sitting on a cushioned stool, her face buried in her hands. Her jade hairpin glints in the lantern light, and her shoulders tremble with each quiet cry. You want to call out to her, to ask why she's here, but your voice feels trapped, as if the room itself is holding it back. May doesn't notice you. She lifts her head, her eyes red but fierce, and stares at the scroll. "You promised me," she whispers, her voice raw. "You said you'd set me free." You follow her gaze, expecting the scroll to answer, but it remains silent, its surface untouched by ink. You take a step closer, your shadow falling across the table, and May's head snaps up. For a moment you think she sees you, her eyes locking onto yours with a desperation that makes your chest ache. But then she looks away, as if you're nothing more than a flicker of light. The door behind her opens, and Chun steps in. His silver-embroidered robes catch the lantern's glow, but his face is haggard, his eyes shadowed with something heavier than guilt, regret, perhaps, or fear. "May," he says, his voice soft but strained, "you shouldn't be here." She stands, her hands clenched at her sides. "Neither should you," she snaps, her voice sharp enough to cut. "But you can't stay away, can you? It's got you just like it's got me." You stand frozen, caught in their moment, a witness to something private and raw. Chun steps closer, his hand reaching for her, but she pulls away, her hairpin trembling as she moves. "You brought it here," she says, her voice breaking. "You thought it would make us immortal, that our love would live forever in its ink. But it's a cage, Chun. It's trapping us." He shakes his head, his jaw tight. "I didn't know," he says. "I thought it was a gift." You want to interrupt, to ask what they mean, but you're a ghost here, unseen and unheard. The scroll hums softly, its shimmer growing brighter, and you feel its pull again, urging you to touch it. You resist, your eyes fixed on May and Chun. She laughs, a bitter sound that doesn't suit her. "A gift?" She says. "It's a thief. It takes everything, our choices, our future. And now it's taking him." She points to the scroll, and your heart lurches. Is she talking about you? Chun's face crumples, and for a moment he looks like he might cry. "I'll find a way to free you," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "I swear it." May shakes her head, her tears falling freely now. "It's too late," she says. The scroll doesn't let go. She turns back to the table, her hand hovering over the scroll's surface, and you feel a pang of fear. You want to stop her, to pull her back, but your feet are rooted to the floor. The room blurs, the lantern's light flaring until it's all you can see. When the brightness fades, you're no longer in the room. You're standing on a cliff, the wind sharp and cold against your skin. Below, a river cuts through the valley, its waters dark and restless. May stands at the edge, her robe billowing, her hairpin catching the moonlight. She's alone now, Chun nowhere in sight. You call her name, but the wind steals your voice. She doesn't turn, doesn't move, but the scroll appears before her, floating in the air, its surface alive with swirling colors. You step closer, your heart pounding. The scroll's ink begins to move, forming shapes, mountains, rivers, a figure that looks like May standing on this very cliff. You see yourself in the ink, too, a faint outline watching her. Your breath catches. The scroll is painting this moment, weaving you into its story, just as Li Wei warned. May reaches for it, her fingers trembling, and you want to scream at her to stop, but the wind is too loud, the scroll too strong. Then she turns, and this time she sees you. Her eyes are wide, filled with a mix of fear and recognition. "You're here," she says, her voice cutting through the wind. "It chose you too." Before you can respond, she steps closer to the edge, the scroll glowing brighter. "Don't let it keep you," she whispers. "Find a way out." The cliff shakes beneath your feet, and the scroll's light engulfs you, pulling you back into its colors. You're in the garden again, the stone archway looming behind you. Li Wei stands where you left him, his fan still in his hand, his face etched with sorrow. "You saw her," he says, his voice heavy. "You saw what the scroll does." You nod, your throat tight, May's words echoing in your mind. You want to ask about Chun, about the cliff, but Li Wei steps closer, his eyes searching yours. "The scroll shows you truth," he says, "but it twists it. It makes you part of the story, whether you want to be or not." You look at the archway, the air still shimmering faintly where the scroll hum. Your hands tremble, the lacquered box still tucked under your arm. You feel the scroll's pull, stronger now, urging you to go back, to see more. But May's warning lingers, her desperate plea to find a way out. You glance at Li Wei, his face, a mask of grief and resolve. "What happens if I keep going?" you ask, your voice barely steady. He doesn't answer right away, his eyes fixed on the archway. "You'll see the end of her story," he says finally, "but it might become yours." The garden hums around you, the fireflies dimming as the night deepens. You feel the weight of the scroll's story, its ink seeping into your thoughts, your choices. You're not sure if you're chasing truth or being chased by it, but one thing is clear, the scroll isn't done with you yet. The garden's hum fades to a whisper as you stand before the stone archway, its moss-covered curves glowing faintly in the moonlight. The lacquered box feels heavier in your hands, as if it's carrying the weight of May's warning and Li Wei's sorrow. You can still see her on the cliff, her eyes pleading with you to find a way out, but the scroll's pull is relentless, tugging at your thoughts like a tide. You glance at Li Wei, his indigo robes blending into the shadows, his fan still clutched tightly. He doesn't speak, but his silence feels like a question. Will you turn back, or will you let the scroll pull you deeper? You step toward the archway, your heart pounding. The air shimmers, and the scroll appears again, floating just beyond your reach. Its surface is blank, but it pulses with that familiar, living glow. You hesitate, May's words echoing in your mind, but your curiosity burns brighter than your fear. You reach out, your fingers brushing the scroll's edge, and the world dissolves into a swirl of ink and light. The garden vanishes, replaced by the soft creak of wooden floors and the scent of sandalwood. You're in a grand hall now, its ceiling painted with fading murals of celestial dragons. Lanterns hang from beams, their light casting a warm glow over a long table set with porcelain cups and a steaming teapot. At the far end sits Chun, his silver-embroidered robes rumpled, his face drawn with exhaustion. He's alone, a brush in, his hand scribbling furiously on a sheet of rice paper. You step closer, your sandals silent on the polished floor, but he doesn't look up. The paper is covered in characters, jagged and uneven, as if written in a frenzy. You lean over his shoulder, trying to read the words, but they blur, shifting like water. One phrase stands out, sharp and clear. The scroll binds what it loves. Your breath catches. You think of May's tears, her accusation that the scroll was a cage. Chun's hand trembles, ink dripping from the brush, and he mutters to himself, his voice barely audible. "I didn't mean for this," he says. "I only wanted to keep her forever." Your heart twists. You want to ask him what he means, but you're still a ghost here, unseen, unheard. The hall's doors slide open, and May enters, her silk robe shimmering like moonlight on a lake. Her hairpin glints, but her face is pale, her eyes hollow. "Chun," she says, her voice sharp but brittle. He startles, dropping the brush, ink splattering across the paper. "May," he says, standing so quickly his chair scrapes against the floor. "You shouldn't be here. It's not safe." She laughs, a sound that's more pain than mirth. "Safe?" she says. "You think I'm safe anywhere with that thing in this house?" You follow her gaze to the corner of the hall, where the scroll rests on a lacquered stand. Its surface is blank, but it seems to hum, drawing your eyes even from across the room. May steps toward it, her hands clenched. "You told me it would immortalize our love," she says, her voice trembling. "But it's stealing me, Chun. I feel it. Every time I touch it, I lose a piece of myself." Chun's face crumples, and he reaches for her, but she pulls back, her eyes blazing. "You knew," she says, "you knew what it would do." He shakes his head, his voice breaking. "I thought it would protect us," he says. "I thought it would keep our story alive." May's laugh cuts through the air, sharp and bitter. "Our story," she says, "it's not ours anymore. It's the scroll's." You feel a chill, the scroll's hum growing louder, vibrating in your chest. You want to step between them to stop their pain, but you're trapped in their moment, a silent witness to their unraveling. May turns to the scroll, her hand hovering over it. "I'll end this," she says, her voice low and fierce. "I'll burn it if I have to." Chun lunges forward, grabbing her wrist. "No," he says, his voice desperate. "You don't understand. If you destroy it, you destroy us." May yanks her hand free, her hairpin falling to the floor with a soft clink. "Maybe that's what I want," she says, her eyes glistening with tears. "To be free, even if it means being nothing." The hall blurs, the lanterns flaring until the light swallows everything. You're back in the garden, the stone archway cold and solid behind you. The scroll is gone, but its presence lingers heavy in the air. Li Wei stands nearby, his fan open now, its cranes catching the moonlight. "You saw them," he says, his voice soft but heavy with grief. "You saw how it began." You nod, your throat tight, the image of May's fallen hairpin burned into your mind. Why did she stay? You ask. If she knew the scroll was trapping her, Why didn't she leave? Lee Wei's eyes darken and he closes the fan with a snap. Love, he says simply, it makes us hold on, even when we know we shouldn't. He steps closer, his gaze piercing. The scroll showed you their fight, but it's not done. With you, it's weaving you into their story, just as it wove them. Your heart races. You think of the scroll's ink, the way it painted you on that cliff, watching May. You feel its pull, even now urging you to go back to see more. You look at the archway, the air still shimmering faintly. The lacquered box is still in your hands, its weight a reminder of the rice paper inside, the image of you and May. What happens if I stop? You ask, your voice barely above a whisper. Lee Wei's expression softens, but there's no comfort in it. You can try, he says, but the scroll doesn't let go easily. It's already painted you. The question is, will you let it finish your story? The garden hums around you, the fireflies flickering like distant stars. You feel the scroll's presence, its ink seeping into your thoughts, your choices. May's pain, Chun's regret, Lee Wei's warnings, they're all part of the same thread. And you're tangled in it now. You take a step toward the archway, your heart pounding, not sure if you're chasing the story or running from it. The night feels endless. The scroll's promise of truth both a lure and a warning. The garden's air is cool against your skin, the fireflies dimming as the night deepens. You stand before the stone archway, its mossy curves barely visible in the moonlight. The lacquered box in your hands feels heavier than ever, as if it's holding not just the rice paper but the weight of May's pain and Chun's regret. Lee Wei watches you, his fan tucked into his sleeve, his eyes reflecting the same sorrow you saw in May's. The scroll's pull is a quiet hum in your chest, urging you to step forward to see more, even as her warning to find a way out echoes in your mind. You take a breath, steadying yourself, and cross the archway's threshold. The world shifts, colors swirling like ink and water. The garden vanishes, replaced by the soft glow of a lantern-lit room. You're standing in a study, its walls lined with shelves of scrolls and books, their edges frayed by time. A low desk sits in the center, cluttered with inkstones and brushes. The scroll lies open on the desk, its surface shimmering, blank but alive. You feel its presence, a quiet pulse. That matches your heartbeat. Your fingers twitch, wanting to touch it, but a voice stops you. You shouldn't be here. It's Chun, standing in the doorway, his silver-embroidered robes disheveled, his face pale. His eyes are wild, like a man who hasn't slept in days. You open your mouth to respond, but no sound comes out. You're still a ghost in this story, unseen, a shadow caught in the scroll's ink. Chun steps into the room, his movements jerky, and kneels beside the desk. He stares at the scroll, his hands trembling as he reaches for a brush. I can fix this, he mutters, his voice raw. I can make it right. You step closer, your heart pounding. The scroll's surface ripples, and ink begins to form, curling into shapes: a garden, a cliff, May's silhouette, with her jade hairpin glinting. Chun dips the brush in ink and hesitates, his hand shaking. May, he whispers as if she can hear him. I didn't mean to trap you. He starts to write, his strokes uneven, but the ink doesn't stay. It swirls, reshaping itself into new images. May on the cliff, her robe billowing, and you standing behind her, watching. Your breath catches. The scroll is painting you again, pulling you deeper into its story. Chun slams the brush down, ink splattering across the desk. "No," he says, his voice breaking. "You can't have her." He's talking to the scroll, but it feels like he's talking to you, too. You want to reach out, to tell him you're not here to hurt anyone, but you're locked in place, a silent witness. The door slides open, and May steps in, her robe pale as moonlight, her hairpin catching the lantern's glow. Her face is calm now, but there's a hardness in her eyes, a resolve that makes your chest tighten. "Chun," she says, her voice steady but cold. "Stop trying to control it. You can't." He turns to her, his face a mix of desperation and love. "I can save you," he says, standing, his hands outstretched. "I can rewrite the story." May shakes her head, her hairpin trembling as she moves. "It's not yours to rewrite," she says. "It never was. The scroll takes what it wants, and it wanted us." She steps toward the desk, her fingers brushing the scroll's edge, and the room hums, the air growing thick. You feel it too, the scroll's pull, stronger now, wrapping around you like a thread. May's eyes flicker to you, just for a moment, and you swear she sees you. "You're here," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "Don't let it take you to." Before you can react, she presses her hand to the scroll, and the room explodes into light. You're pulled forward, the world dissolving into a rush of colors, reds, golds, blues, swirling like a storm. When the light fades, you're standing in a forest, the trees tall and ancient, their branches heavy with mist. The scroll floats before you, its surface alive with ink. May and Chun in the study, their faces etched with pain, and you, a faint figure in the background, watching. The forest is quiet, save for the soft drip of water from leaves. You turn, searching for May or Chun, but you're alone. The scroll hums, its ink shifting, forming new shapes, a path winding through the trees, leading to a distant light. You follow the path, your heart pounding, the lacquered box still clutched in your hands. The forest feels alive, the trees whispering. As you pass, you catch glimpses of images in their bark. May's face, Chun's trembling hands, the scroll's shimmering surface. The path opens to a clearing where a small shrine stands, its red paint faded, but vibrant in the moonlight. The scroll is there, resting on the shrine's altar, its ink swirling with scenes you've seen, and some you haven't, a wedding, a betrayal, a cliff's edge. You approach the shrine, your breath shallow. The scroll's hum is louder now, vibrating in your bones. You want to touch it, to understand its story, but May's warning stops you. You think of her in the study, her resolve, her plea to not let the scroll take you. You open the lacquered box, the rice paper inside still showing you and May, the ink wet and alive. Your heart races. The scroll is weaving you into its story. Just as Li Wei said, but you're not sure if you're fighting it or falling into it. The forest shifts, the mist thickening, and you hear footsteps behind you. You turn, expecting May or Chun, but it's Li Wei, his indigo robe stark against the pale trees. "You're still here," he says, his voice heavy with something like pity. The scroll's hold is strong. You nod, your throat tight. "What does it want from me?" You ask, your voice trembling. He steps closer, his fan glinting in the moonlight. "It wants your story," he says. "It wants to paint you, just as it painted them. But you can still choose how it ends. The scroll hums louder, its ink swirling faster, and you feel its pull, urging you to touch it, to see more. The forest whispers around you, the shrine's light flickering like a heartbeat. You're standing at the edge of something vast, the scroll's story stretching out before you, and you're not sure if you're ready to step into it. But the path is there, and the scroll is waiting. The forest clearing hums with a quiet energy. The shrine's faded red paint glowing faintly under the moonlight. The scroll rests on the altar, its surface alive with swirling ink, painting scenes of May's tears, Chun's desperation, and you watching from the edges. The lacquered box in your hands feels like an anchor, its rice paper inside a mirror of the scroll's power. Li Wei stands nearby, his indigo robes blending into the mist, his fan tucked away as if he's bracing for what comes next. You feel the scroll's pull, stronger now, tugging at your thoughts, urging you to step closer. May's warning echoes. In your mind, don't let it take you, but the scroll's promise of truth is a siren call you can't ignore. You approach the shrine, your steps slow, the forest whispering around you. The trees seem to lean closer, their bark etched with fleeting images. May's jade hairpin, Chun's trembling hands, a cliff's edge under a stormy sky. The scroll's surface ripples as you near, and you see your own face in the ink sketched. Beside May's, your eyes wide with the same fear you feel now. Your heart pounds. You want to turn back, to run from this place, but your feet move forward, drawn by a force you don't fully understand. You reach for the scroll, your fingers hovering above its shimmering surface. The air grows thick, the forest falling silent. The moment your hand brushes the ink, the world shifts again, colors spiraling like a storm. The shrine vanishes and you're standing in a courtyard, the same one you saw when you first entered the Li estate, but different, vibrant, alive, with lanterns strung across the trees and laughter filling the air. It's a wedding, you realize, the courtyard adorned with red silk and flowers. May stands at the center, radiant in a crimson robe, her jade hairpin glinting as she smiles. Chun is beside her, his face soft with love, his silver embroidered, robes catching the lantern light. You move through the crowd, unnoticed, your presence a flicker in their joy. The guests raise cups of wine, toasting the couple, but you catch glimpses of unease in their eyes, as if they sense something you can't. May's smile falters when she thinks no one is watching, her fingers tightening around Chun's hand. You follow her gaze to a corner of the courtyard where the scroll rests on a lacquered stand, its surface blank but glowing faintly. It's here even now, watching, waiting. The scene shifts, the laughter fading as the courtyard darkens. You're in the same space, but the lanterns are gone, the flowers wilted. May stands alone, her wedding robe replaced by her familiar silk, her hairpin loose in her hair. Chun approaches, his face pale, a scroll in his hands, not the scroll, but a smaller one, its edges frayed. "I found it," he says, his voice trembling with excitement. "It's a gift, May. It can make our love eternal." She steps back, her eyes narrowing. "Where did you get it?" she asks, her voice sharp. He hesitates, his hands tightening around the scroll. "A merchant," he says. "He said it was ancient, that it could hold stories forever." May's face hardens. "You don't know what it is," she says. "You don't know what it wants." Chun shakes his head, stepping closer. "It wants us," he says. It wants our story. He unrolls the scroll, and you see it, the same shimmering surface, the same living glow. May reaches for it, her fingers trembling, and the moment she touches it, the courtyard blurs. You're pulled forward, the world dissolving into ink and light. When the colors fade, you're on the cliff again, the river roaring below, the wind sharp against your skin. May stands at the edge, her robe billowing, the scroll floating before. Her Chun is there too, his face etched with panic. "May, don't," he says, his voice breaking. "We can fix this. We can live in its story." She turns to him, her eyes blazing. "I don't want to live in a cage," she says. "I want to be free." She reaches for the scroll, her hand steady now, and you feel a surge of fear. You want to stop her, to pull her back, but you're frozen. A ghost in their tragedy, the scroll's ink swirls, painting the cliff, May, Chun, and you. Standing behind them, your face a faint sketch in the chaos. May's eyes meet yours just for a moment, and you feel her pain, her resolve. "Find a way out," she whispers, her voice cutting through the wind. Before you can react, she presses both hands to the scroll, and the world explodes into light. You're thrown back, the cliff vanishing, the scroll's hum deafening in your ears. You're in the garden again, the stone archway cold behind you. Li Wei is there, his face drawn, his fan open in his hands. The scroll is gone, but its presence lingers, heavy in the air. "You saw their beginning," he says, his voice soft but heavy, "and their end." You shake your head, your throat tight. "That wasn't the end," you say, your voice trembling. "She's still here. I saw her." Li Wei's eyes darken, and he steps closer. "She's part of the scroll now," he says. "And so are you if you don't stop." You clutch the lacquered box, the rice paper inside a reminder of the scrolls. Power. Your mind races, replaying May's wedding, her fight with Chun, her final stand on the cliff. You feel the scrolls pull, urging you to go back, to see the end of the story. But May's words haunt you, her plea to find a way out. "How do I stop it?" you ask, your voice barely above a whisper. Li Wei's fan snaps shut, his gaze piercing. "You face it," he says. You face the scroll, and you choose. The garden hums around you, the fireflies flickering like distant memories. The archway looms, the air shimmering faintly where the scroll once hung. You feel the weight of May's story, Chun's regret, and your own tangled place in it. The scroll is waiting, its ink ready to paint the next moment, and you're not sure if you're ready to see what it holds. But the path is there, and the choice is yours. The garden is still, the firefly is gone, leaving only the moonlight to trace the stone archway's curves. The lacquered box in your hands feels like a heartbeat, its rice paper a silent witness to the scroll's power. Li Wei stands before you, his indigo robes catching the pale light, his eyes heavy with the truth you're only beginning to grasp. The scroll's hum lingers in the air, softer, now but no less insistent, pulling at your thoughts, your choices. May's plea echoes in your mind, find a way out, but the weight of her story, Chun's regret, and your own tangled place in it holds you fast. You stand at the edge of the archway, the air shimmering faintly, and you know this is the moment. The scroll is waiting, and so is your choice. You take a breath, the night air cool against your skin, and step forward. The world doesn't shift this time. No colors swirl, no ink spirals. Instead, the garden seems to hold its breath, the trees, leaning closer, their branches whispering in a language you can't understand. The scroll appears before you, floating just beyond the archway, its surface blank but alive, pulsing with a light that feels like it's coming from inside you. You glance at Li Wei, searching for guidance, but his face is unreadable, his fan tucked away. "This is yours now," he says, his voice soft but final. The scroll chooses its ending. Your heart pounds as you approach, the scroll's hum growing louder, vibrating in your chest. You think of May on the cliff, her resolve as she pressed her hands to the scroll, and Chun's desperate plea to rewrite their story. You think of the courtyard, the wedding's fleeting joy, and the study where their love unraveled. The scroll has shown you their truth, but it's painted you into it, too. Your hand hovers over its surface, the warmth of it drawing you closer. You want to see the end, to understand, but May's warning pulls at you, urging you to turn away. You open the lacquered box, the rice paper inside shimmering with the image of you and May, the ink still wet, still alive. Your face in the sketch is clearer now, your eyes wide with something like recognition. You look up at the scroll, and for a moment you see her May standing just beyond it, her silk robe blowing, her jade hairpin catching the moonlight. She doesn't speak, but her eyes meet yours and you feel her plea again, sharp and urgent. "Choose," she seems to say, though her lips don't move. Choose before it chooses for you. Your hand trembles, caught between the scroll and the box. You think of Li Wei's words that the scroll binds what it loves, and you wonder if it loves you too, or if it simply wants your story. You think of Chun trying to rewrite his love and May fighting to be free. You don't want to be trapped, but you don't want to walk away either. The scroll's hum is a song now, soft and haunting, promising answers if you'll only touch it one more time. You close your eyes, the garden's whispers filling your mind. You see flashes of the story, May's tears, Chun's guilt, the cliffs, edge the wedding's lanterns. You see yourself, a scholar chasing a rumor, now caught in a tale you didn't write. The scroll's warmth pulls at you, but so does May's voice, her desperate call to find a way out. You take a step back, your hand falling from the scroll, and the hum falters just for a moment. The air feels lighter, the garden quieter, as if the world is waiting for your decision. You look at Lai Wei, his face soft by the moonlight, and you know he's seen this moment before, with May, with Chun. What did they choose? You ask, your voice barely above a whisper. He steps closer, his eyes heavy with grief. May chose freedom, he says. Chun chose the scroll. And now it's yours to decide. You nod, your throat tight, and turn back to the scroll. Its surface is still blank, but you feel its power, its hunger for your story. You think of the village, the tea house rumors, the path that led you here. You think of your notebook, your brush, your vial of ink, all left behind in a world that feels distant now. The scroll offers truth, but at a cost, and you're not sure you're willing to pay it. You take another step back, the lacquered box still in your hands, and the scroll's hum fades to a whisper. May's image flickers in your mind, her hairpin glinting, her eyes pleading. You don't want to be another figure in its ink, another story it binds. You turn to Li Wei, your heart steady now. "I choose to leave," you say, your voice clear in the quiet night. The words feel like a release, like a thread snapping. The scroll trembles, its light dimming, and for a moment you think you see May's silhouette again, her smile soft and fleeting. A garden shifts, the archway fading into mist, and you're back in the Lee Estate's courtyard, the real one, with its crumbling walls and wildflowers. The scroll is gone, the box in your hand's just a box now. Its rice paper blank and still Lai Wei is gone, too, but his fan lies on the ground, its cranes faded but visible. You pick it up, its weight familiar, a reminder of the story you almost became. The night is quiet, the moon high, and you feel lighter, as if the scroll's hold has loosened. You walk back through the courtyard, the gates creaking as you push them open, and step onto the gravel path. The village is silent, but the air feels alive, free of the scroll's hum. You don't look back. Some stories stay with us long after. The words fade. Let this one rest beside you. Sleep deeply. And if it returns in your dreams, perhaps it was never truly gone.